Hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of September the 16th, 2022. What if Hugo was resurrected for the sequel, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, the Muskogee Creek from Denver, Colorado, actually Littleton, Colorado. And we have just joining us as Do Not Stand By. He's also from Denver, but mainly from Arvada, Colorado. How's it going, Do Not Stand By?
Good. It's good to talk with you, Creek. How are you?
All right. Good. How's your summer? How'd it go?
Oh, it was a crazy summer. There's a lot of things I had to do for work, so that's why I missed out on over the summer. But I'm back now and plan to be here for the next couple of months.
Oh, that's good. Cool. How about your friend, the one whose house burned? How is he doing? He and his family.
Yeah, they're doing okay. They have a rental in Boulder, but they're still working through the issues of rebuilding the home.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's got to be pretty tough. So, anyway, Angelus, I think I'm not sure if he's working today or not. His schedule, I never can keep up with it. So I thought he said he was going to be on, but if he gets called away at the last second, so we just don't know. So yeah, I've had a pretty rough summer myself. Pretty much between work and of course my dog. Everybody knows about my dog, I guess, but yeah, it's been kind of up and down all summer. So that's it's just the way it is. I guess life is like that sometimes. So
yeah, hopefully the fall will make it up to us. I wasn't even able to have my outdoor movie nights for Alita over the summer because the weather was bad. Every time I had an outdoor movie night, there'd be rain. It seemed that always happened on Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah, that's we have had some weird summer weather here, haven't we? Because I've never seen it rain as much as it is here. We got this little mountain range right near my house here, and it's the same one that Do Not Stand By is by it, about 25 miles north of my house. But it's called the Hog's Back, and it's green. I've never seen it this green this time of year, but that's because we've been getting a lot of rain. So I guess that's just the way it goes, and I guess that's a good thing in some ways, so. Okay, well, I guess we could go ahead and get started. But before we jump into the main topic, just wanted to bring everybody up to date on the petition there for a sequel. And as you can see there, this was probably an hour before we started the stream here. So we're starting to approach 177,000 signatures. And I believe it's the number of signatures we've had in the past week, because as everybody knows, last week was Alita week. And of course, on Friday was Alita Day. I think we were like 175,000 or something like, and a few hundred. I can't remember, but anyway, we've had well over 800 signatures since then. So that's pretty good. Now we do want to get it up to 200,000. And even though we have more signatures now than the Snyder Cut had when they got their version of the Justice League. We're not going to sit on our hands and say, okay, now we've got over 170. 170K. Let's just see what we can do. If we'll get it. We just need to keep folks need to keep signing the petition, and we get that thing up to 200. Hopefully, that'll be another piece of evidence for Disney for them to kind of get off the dime here and kind of help us out on that. So. Yeah, I see Nordley's out there. So how's it going? Okay, moving on along here. And this stream may not be as long tonight as or today as other streams. But anyway, we still want to hit some important topics here. And we want this to dovetail real nice into the Radio Chaos stream tomorrow. But as we all know, just a little bit of a refresher, and everybody on this stream knows what's happened here. But, of course, Alita and Hugo, they fall in love with each other. And at the beginning, it's more or less like, I guess, infatuation, almost teenage love, that kind of thing, you know, which is a good thing, you know. But they're both they're you know, very young. I guess Alita here is about 15 years old in this body, and Hugo, you know, I get the sense that Hugo's probably 19 or 20 years old, perhaps, you know. So there you see them after the street motorball game where Alita really kicks Tanji's butt, really. And then she looks so sweet and innocent after that. So, so anyway, that's one of the things I like about her as a character, you know. But anyway, they form this relationship, and then of course, eventually, as they, I won't say mature, because the whole story, I guess, is you know, is probably a few days the way it seems on screen. Although Maxie and I have discussed this before, where it's actually probably several months, because you know, in the novelization, before she gets to the point where she can play in the second league, she's trained with Hugo probably 2 or 3 months at least. So, but they can't do all that in the movie. So anyway, as you can see there, that's just another you know, indication that that Alita is really smitten with Hugo. Now, Hugo wasn't that smitten with her, you know, to begin with. He just saw her as a means to an end. You know, that, for instance, you know, this cyborg girl is from Zalem, and that's what kind of piqued his interest in her, you know. Now, as the movie goes on, of course, he starts developing feelings for her and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's exactly right, Nordley. Her relationship with Figure 4 is much more interesting. And I think we've talked about this on prior streams, whereas, you know, when these two met, you know, particularly on Alita's end, it was kind of like love at first sight, almost infatuation, that kind of stuff. And, you know, they kind of just, you know, they kind of grew into this relationship pretty quickly, you know, but they both liked each other to begin with, you know. But with Figure 4, it's different. They actually didn't like each other that much, or I wouldn't say they disliked each other, but it was more of a contentious relationship than one of an infatuation like this. Is if anybody's read the novels, not the novelization, the manga, they know that Alita really beats up on Figure 4 in the desert. You know, I don't know what he thought he was going to pull there, but you know, she just basically kicked his butt every way but Sunday. You know, and of course, her being a cyborg, and she was in that tuned body, I think, when she fought him there. Had she been in the Berserker body, or worse yet, the Imaginos body, I don't think it would have been any different, except the fight would have been over faster, probably. But if you remember, she literally stomped him in the dirt. I mean, just really beat up on him, and he kept getting up, you know. And she said, "What is wrong with this guy? This guy is unbelievable," you know, because she kept beating him up, you know, and he just kept getting up, you know. So anyway, she, you know, and we won't get into too much of that because this is going to be more about Hugo. Whereas Hugo here is not so much of he's not like Figure 4, you know, he's not a fighter like that, you know. Now, he's got to know how to survive for sure, because, you know, Iron City is a pretty tough place to live, you know, or, hypothetically speaking, that is. So he has to know, he's got to have some street smarts and be able, at some point or at some level, be able to defend himself in some ways, you know, but not like Figure 4. You know, Figure 4 is pretty big, you know, and he's a badass fighter. So, but anyway, that's a good point, Nordley. It was, even though her and Figure 4 and Alita actually, you know, they kind of hit it off, but it was kind of coming from a different angle, you know, like where they were both contentious to begin with, and then they kind of came together. Whereas these two, it was more like infatuation. It just continued to grow into the relationship. So, but there you see her offering Hugo her heart, you know, and if you remember, she told him that, you know, I'd do whatever I had to for you, or something like that, you know, and she said, I think I'll give you anything I have, and then offered him her heart rather. So, and yeah, Norley, that's exactly right. Hugo's not a coward, and he's not a fighter like Figure 4, but he's definitely not a coward, you know. I kind of had that feeling about him at the beginning of the movie, that he was just kind of you know, he would run from a fight or whatever. But the fact that he went down into into the underworld with Ito, you know, when Alita was down there, and he reacted. You know, he threw that fire bottle at Grishka. You know, I mean, this guy's not. Yeah, he's not a coward. I agree with that. You know, but he's not a. You know, he's not a macho type guy like Figure Four is. You know, Figure Four is could pretty much. You know, well, he actually killed 38 cyborgs, I guess. So you know, he's pretty badass. Figure Four is, but we're going to talk about Hugo here. You know, any thoughts so far? Do not stand by that I may have missed.
Yeah, yeah, I think you did a pretty good job summarizing their relationship. I think that Hugo he does get into some fights, but usually when he's at an advantage, like
Yeah.
when he zapped the guy that was about to break the chair over Alita's back. He usually strikes when his opponent doesn't really isn't really prepared for it, and that's what he does with jacking cyborgs.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's a fair fight, then Hugo would definitely be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think so. And another thing Norley brings up here is that, you know, when Grishka shot those grind cutters at Ito, he you know, he actually pushed Ito, jumped in and saved him. You know, I think because those grind cutters would have chopped him all to bits. You know, so yeah, Hugo's not a coward, that's for sure. You know. And then, of course, we remember this scene. You know, yeah, and this is the next couple of scenes here are gonna set us up for our discussion. But you know, here's Hugo. You know, after he, I guess he, Shirin, I guess, did that operation on him when after Zapan actually, stabbed him with the Damascus blade. You know, and of course she took his head off and connected it to Alita's. I guess cyber blood, I guess not cyber blood, heart's blood, to keep his brain alive. I think. After that, of course, he, as you remember, that Ito actually put Hugo's head onto a cyber body, and that's an important point to remember in the future. You know, when we get talking about how he would survive. You know, because the difference between him and Alita, other than certainly he's got a good body, but it's not a berserker body. You know, I mean, she's going to have a superior body, but he's got a human head. Her head is made out of some kind of titanium. Now, it's got a human brain in it, but it's like a titanium carbon nanotube composite, that is extremely tough, which allowed her to survive the fall from Zalem or Jeru or whichever version you prefer. But as you can see there, they're up there and she's trying to talk him down. And, she's begging him to come back with her. They need to get down from there because it was very dangerous, if you remember. And just the look on her face, you can just see the angst, that she had, trying to get Hugo to come down there, and it's very much Ash Black Wind, like a Romeo and Juliet story, isn't it, in some ways, So, because Alita is certainly very much in love with Hugo, and I think he is with her too at this point. Now he was still trying to get to Zalem, of course. And then, of course, we remember this scene right here. Not the grind cutters, the defense ring actually chopped him up like that, and she saves him momentarily, at least. And he's kind of hanging on like that. And then, of course, as you remember, his arm breaks, and then he falls, from that great height. Now, I've done some calculations. I don't know if you guys remember the stream of about, say, a year and a half ago, where we were talking about the technology of Iron City and Zalem and stuff like that. And if you remember, there was one shot in there where I had put down that, that Iron City, or rather Zalem, is actually 2 miles above Iron City. And they're not all the way up there. So, who knows how far they are. If they were halfway up to 2, they'd be a mile up. So, probably, maybe a kilometer and a half or something like that for those of you that are in metric system, or say almost a mile, up the tube itself, the supply tube. And, they're what he's going to fall that distance. Now, the reason why I told you to remember that, remember he has a human head. Falling from that distance is going to be very difficult for him to survive because he's got just a regular human skull, whereas Alita has that, that titanium carbon nanotube composite skull that protects her brain. So that is one of the things about why probably Hugo is not going to survive this, because if you can imagine falling from a height of at least, say, perhaps a mile up, 5,000 feet, or say 1.5 kilometers, whatever. Imagine how tough it's going to be, how difficult it's going to be for you to survive. And it's kind of like Lee says, if you're going to be falling from that height, then you're actually going to be hitting the ground or hitting something at terminal velocity, which is 120 miles an hour, or approximately 170 kilometers an hour. So it's going to be pretty tough for you to survive that. Plus, as he falls, remember that I guess Zalem is above mostly the scrapyard. Now, they were probably on that tube, maybe outside the scrapyard, but I can't imagine he's going to land on anything that's safe, or soft. It's going to be pretty tough for him to survive that fall. Now, that said, this is a movie. And, he could do something like Nordley says. He could do some kind of roll if he hits at an angle or something like that. Maybe he can protect his head some way, perhaps, Be very difficult, I think. So with that said, here's kind of some of the things I thought of in terms of how Hugo could come back. And of course, the first three are going to certainly depend on him surviving the fall physically. Okay, in other words, it doesn't kill him. Or if it kills him, then his brain is somehow still intact and he's able to be revived. If you remember that the technology of the 26th century, even in Iron City, is going to be much more advanced in terms of cyborgs and stuff like that, being able to repair them and that kind of thing. Because remember, he is a cyborg, and if they can reconstruct his brain somehow, or perhaps maybe his brain doesn't get completely demolished, then a couple of ways this could happen is maybe Alita runs back down and finds him and rushes him over to Doc Ito, and he repairs him. That could happen. Or a little bit worse scenario, Nova finds him and rebuilds him, and then kind of does something, changes his demeanor, changes his personality or his memories or whatever it is. Or someone else finds him and repairs him. Now, who knows what that could be? If you remember from the movie, and if you've read the novelization and even the manga, Ito is not the only cyber doctor in town. There are other cyber doctors. So if one of those folks finds him, they could perhaps repair him. Now, I think this is going to be a challenge that probably Ito is going to be about the only cyber doctor, him and Nova, that could actually save Hugo. But there may be another cyber doctor there that's pretty good that maybe be able to pull that off himself or herself. Now, the fourth way would be in the sequel, Hugo just comes back as flashbacks in Alita's memory. And one thing they could do on that, there was a bunch of, I guess, omitted scenes that they didn't put in the final film, or that there were deleted scenes, where Hugo trains Alita. He trains her how to play motorball. That would be perfect as a flashback, as she's, say, if they do a series, let's say, and she's playing motorball in the second league, and occasionally she has a flashback to Hugo. Or perhaps as she's even playing against Joshagon, and his team, maybe she can, have a flashback to Hugo there. Or throughout the movie or series in various places where maybe she goes back up to his apartment, even though he's not there, she has a flashback that way. So those are the four ways I kind of saw that. And I certainly think that's probably not the only four ways that come back, but that's just what I came up with off the top of my head. You got any other thoughts about that? Do not stand by about, how Hugo could actually come back.
Yeah, well, I think what's different from the movie situation and what happened in the manga is that Nova was watching over all of this, and he was the one that sent down the defense ring to
Yeah.
shred Hugo. Nova may have had a contingency plan as well that he might have. He in the manga he does a lot of experiments with immortality, so he may have intended for Hugo to be grievously wounded, but he had a plan to bring Hugo back. So with Nova seeing this all happen in real time, he might have been able to recover Hugo before he fell to his death somehow. Or even if he did fall to his death, he'd be able to recover enough of Hugo's remains to be able to bring him back to life with one of his experiments. After all, Alita was brought back to life in the manga, even though she was blown to bits.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I trust Robert Rodriguez, I trust Jim Cameron, I trust Lita Kalogridis. If they have a really good storyline and a really good way to bring Hugo back, for example, maybe they have Alita have lots of flashbacks about him and a lot of guilt about what happened, but then she's ultimately confronted with Nova having brought Hugo back as some kind of monstrosity, and then having to deal with the anguish of all the guilt about him, and then seeing him back in this revised Nova form. So I'll give Jim, Robert, and Lita the benefit of the doubt on what they decide to do with this storyline.
Yeah, and by the way, if they did something like that with Hugo, it would not be agreeing with the manga. So, that they'd be taking a risk with that. But I think there's enough Hugo fans out there that, since it is Alita and it, it's, that, I know with me and I know with you too, do not stand by. If Alita's in it, we're going to watch it, that's just the way it's going to work, But I do think that, sometimes if you have an adaptation like this, you do run the risk, of alienating fans, that are, say, big fans of the manga, let's say, and that, or even the anime for that matter, although the anime is not that comprehensive like the manga, of course. But I do think, that you might run that risk. Now, I think with Alita, I think most of us could tolerate it if the story was good, especially if they're flashbacks. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have any problem with Hugo, being in the sequel as a flashback or a memory, And I agree with Nordley. I think they ought to stick to the manga. However, they may have a little bit of creativity going with them here. They may decide to do something, a little bit different, in terms of how they deal with Hugo, And I think Kean Johnson would come back and play the part. I don't think he would have any issue with that, So I wonder, what'd be an interesting thing, or one of the points you made there, do not stand by, is she has all these memory flashbacks, some of them positive, and she misses him and stuff like that, and then she runs into Nova and like you say, is confronted with this monstrosity that's Hugo, maybe in a bigger, badder body or something like that. And Nova, how Nova is, he likes to pit people against each other as an experiment or test or whatever, just see how it works out, He kind of did that with Zapan, when Zapan got the berserker body, he just he gave Alita the collapser rounds and say, okay, let's see how this turns out. That's kind of what his whole his whole modus operandi was there, is that he wanted to see how Alita would how she would be able to deal with this, or if she could deal with this. I think this would be a similar thing if they were to bring Hugo back. Now, one other thing they might do if they want to bring Hugo back, and David Watson says, we don't want Hugo to come back. I think if he does come back, I still watch it. If he does come back, though, I'd prefer it to be as a flashback, not as an actual in the story. However, if they do pull this off like this with the first, say, 2 or 3 of these, I think number 1 is definitely not going to work, because I think number 1 is going to be too much of a, kind of a, I don't know how you would say it, idyllic, kind of ending to that story. Alita loses boy comes back, and they live happily ever after. I don't think that would be good for the, for the IP myself, and it certainly wouldn't agree with the manga, but they could probably get away with it if Nova, finds him and rebuilds him and makes him like Berserker Pan, and probably Nova's probably got Berserker bodies. He probably has several of them. That's a good thing, Ash Blackwind. Beauty and the Beast. yeah, that would work, I guess. In some ways, I don't know if the same storyline would work here, but yeah, that could be portrayed that way, I guess, to a degree. And one other thing that might pull off here is that maybe Nova rebuilds Hugo like this, makes him more like Berserker Pan. And Hugo, is he kind of charges up Hugo or programs him to kill Alita, and he wants to see if Alita can survive this. And now all of a sudden, Hugo kind of starts getting flashbacks himself of Alita, and he kind of he rediscovers his feelings for her, and then that kind of, you could kind of take the, the story that way. Or if he doesn't, she kills him. That you could go either way on that one. And I agree with you, Lee. I don't see that happening. Certainly that first one, I don't see it happening at all. Anything you want to add to that there? Do not stand by.
Yeah, I guess the big question about whether they would want to bring Hugo back is what do they do with the screen time in the sequel? And they already have a lot of things to put into the sequel, so it'd be really hard to squeeze in a good Beauty and the Beast story with Hugo if you're also going to have Japan in there. And I think Japan's going to take the priority because he's in the manga.
Yeah, that's right. I think so, And if they were going to attempt anything like this, and this is where I would probably be okay with it to a point, would be, how they did with the MCU did that What If series, kind of like what we're doing here. What if Hugo didn't die, and they did that kind of a thing, and another one could be what if Alita and Japan actually hit it off, and they had a relationship. They could do some things like that, or what if Alita and Joshua Gon form an alliance of some kind in Motorball. They could do several things like that, kind of like they did with the MCU and those What If series. They could do something like that probably. But I think, that MCU stuff they did is not regarded as canon, to them, but it's just kind of nice stories. They could do something like that in a kind of a series like that with this. But if they're going to, try to make or stick to the manga, they're not going to be able to pull that off, I think. Yeah, we had a stream on Radio Chaos about that, probably a few months ago, where I think Maxie had kind of reworked, the kind of rework the overall story, you know, about how Hugo was being a little, you know, little turkey, you know, and he was only focused on Zalem, and he was trying to take advantage of Alita in terms of getting him up to Zalem and all like that. She gets tired of it, and she starts, her and Zapan, you know, Zapan kind of takes her offside. Look, all this stuff I'm doing in the Kansas bar is all bravado. You know, you have to do that to keep respect of the Hunter Warriors. And then he starts talking to her, in a way that's not going to be like he did in the movie. You know, that would be another what if thing they could pull off, I think, in somewhat of a series. You know, so. But yeah, I think whether Alita would ever have a relationship with Zapan, I don't know. You know, I think he's too much of a. I think he's too egocentric. You know, he's too definitely narcissistic to a great degree, and I think that's qualities that Alita is not going to like. You know, in him, you know, as a person. You know. So it's kind of like Nordley says, he's too much of a rectum. So, you know, yeah, I guess so. You know, I guess that's a good point. But that is something they could pull off, you know, if they wanted to do a what if type series like they did in the MCU. Any other thoughts there on that one? Do not stand by.
Well, I think the scenes with Japan in the bar are just so powerful that it's really hard to take that back.
Yeah, I think so.
The way that Japan was talking down on Alita, and the way that she held him in so much contempt, and the way that she smashed his face through the table. I think those are irreversible, and I don't see any way to do the storyline where they could be a thing. They could actually be dating.
Yeah, that's right. Not in a kind of like sequel or trilogy or something like that. In a what if type situation, they could probably try to pull that off where she doesn't smash his face into the table and stuff like that. You know, maybe they could do something like that. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think there's so much in the manga that they would probably want to stick to. I don't see that happening. I don't see any kind of kind of just diverting from it too much. You know, certainly they're going to divert from it a little bit because that's what they do in movies, you know, but they got to keep the spirit of the manga, I think, is basically what they need to do. So, well, here's a good point. Something we were talking about a while ago. If Hugo fell head first and landed in kind of a way he says unguarded shredder, but you know, if he just landed on a heap of kind of metal, like steel and stuff like that, I mean, it would definitely just tear his head up, whereas Alita, her skull is different, and it didn't do that to her, because when Ito found her, she was still alive, I mean, you remember he kind of put that life detector thing and, device up to her, and he says, "You're alive," that kind of thing, So, that wouldn't happen with Hugo. I think he's got a human skull, so that thing is going to crack, and it's probably just going to explode if he landed head first. The only hope he might have is if he landed, say, in some kind of material that would maybe decelerate him to the point where it doesn't scramble his brains, Or it's kind of like Do Not Stand By. You were saying a while ago, if Nova could maybe collect enough of his remains and use his DNA to kind of resequence things and stuff like that and rebuild him that way, then of course it doesn't matter at that point, because he can do that, So anyway, I think the whole idea of Hugo coming back, if it's not a flashback, I don't think is going to be well received by much of us in the Alita Army, I think. Now, the average moviegoer might like it, but I think some of us may not like that too much. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Do Not Stand By. I think it did bring him back like that. And Alita and Hugo kind of, rekindled their relationship. To me, that'd be too unrealistic. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think that they're going to go that way, mainly because of the runtime of the movie. If there's a television series, they might consider it more seriously. But I, I think that the changes they made from the manga in the movie worked really, really well. But they
Yeah.
kept the spirit, as you said, like making Doc Ito more the father figure, making
Yep.
Alita's body actually from his daughter, what he was built making for his daughter, and having Shirin, which was in the anime but not in the manga. I think those decisions worked out really, really well. But I think the Hugo being brought back would probably be too far from the spirit to be able to work out as well as the decisions they made for the first movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think certainly it'd be more applicable, I think, to as flashbacks. They could do that, but it couldn't take up a lot of the time in the sequel, could it? Now they could do a lot of that in the series. They could do some of these flashbacks, but in a sequel, no. They may have one flashback, maybe kind of like they did with Alita and Gelda, where she had a couple of flashbacks with or three flashbacks with Gelda. I think that would be the limit, though. Three flashbacks with Hugo, I think, is going to be about as much as they can do. I think, and they're going to have to be just a few seconds, just like they did, with the flashbacks with Gelda. So anyway, I think my thought is no. I don't want Hugo to come back. I want Hugo's dead. He needs to stay dead. I think, but I'd be okay with flashbacks. I'd be all right with that, as long as it didn't take up too much of the movie. Because I really want to see Alita, I want to see her get into different situations. I want to see her, kind of meet Figure 4, and I want to see that little desert fight they had. I definitely want to see that. And yeah, I agree with you, Nordley. I guess we definitely want Gelda to come back. Now, Gelda, we don't know what happened with Gelda, in the manga itself, in the original manga. I guess the assumption is that she's dead, perhaps, because remember, it's been 300 years. So, Gelda, unless they somehow could preserve her like they did Alita, Gelda's not going to be around. She's going to be a very distant memory. I mean, how many people do you know today that are 300 years old? I mean, there's just not there. I mean, well, the creek is immortal, so But anyway, I'm not 300 years old though, so there you go. So, yeah, I think Gelda worked as a flashback very well, and I think Hugo would too. So anyway, that's I guess that's pretty much it. I guess, yeah. I guess you're right, Norley. I guess Gelda was killed in action, perhaps, or she could have been like Alita, where she was captured and and eventually killed. Or perhaps she was captured and escaped, but being 300 years ago, I mean, from when Alita's alive, she lived out the rest of her life and departed the planet that way. I mean, there's any number of ways, but certainly, it's like Doc Ito said, when I guess "Do Not Stand By" one of your daughter's favorite scenes where she slams her fist down on the table. About talking about Alita having a second chance. How many of us get that chance? You get the feeling there's not too many of them. Now certainly they can do some rebuilding and stuff like that, but I don't think in Gelda's case, I think Gelda is gone. Now they could do more flashbacks with Gelda too, or if they wanted to do something in a series like Mars Chronicles, obviously, then of course they could have Gelda, come back in Mars as a character in the Mars Chronicles. Yeah, that's true. That Alita and Gelda both survived the defense ring, but we don't know what happened after that. you can't think it would be very positive for both of them since Alita ended up in the scrapyard. So, here's an interesting thought Lee came up with, that he thinks maybe that Gelda's body is being held by Nova, somehow, or has got her in, probably in stasis somewhere, something like that. And, maybe, who knows how he, use her body perhaps to make Zerkerpan. I think in the manga though, Zerkerpan's actually the berserker body was Alita's body, and then if you remember, she couldn't go back into it because that's the body she was in when Hugo died, and there was too much for her. So, but they could make that little bit of a switch, I guess, in the movie where Zapan and Alita both have berserker bodies and they fight each other, Yeah, that's right. Maxie did come up with the idea about that. Yeah, for sure, So, and Zerkerpan actually steals Alita's body. I'm not sure he steals it. I think maybe you remember this, Do Not Stand By. Didn't Nova give him that body, or did he give him a berserker body? I don't quite remember.
I don't remember the details, but I think it was that Alita's berserker body was put in storage, but the person who had it in storage gave it to Nova, and Nova ended up giving it to Japan.
Yeah,
that was my memory of it.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I thought it went too. That that Zapan actually ended up with Alita's body. So that's kind of the way that worked out, I think. So.
Yeah, but with the way the movie went, I don't see that working out because it seems that Ito would be supporting Alita in her motorball run, and her motorball body probably came from Ito. So
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it could go the same way with the movie.
Yeah, in the manga, Alita and Ito have a falling out, and she won't talk to him at least for a pretty long time. I don't see that happening in the movie. I think that, they've established that father-daughter relationship in a little bit different way than it was in the manga, I think. So I kind of agree with you. I think that that Ito is going to support Alita in any way. What I do think could happen is that they both get berserker bodies. And I could see a scenario where, Alita, doesn't want to get back into the berserker body because that's, it's too painful for her, emotionally to get back in it because that's the body I was in when I couldn't save Hugo. And here's Zapan, he's got a berserker body, and then she decides, well, if I'm going to beat Zapan, I'm going to have to get back in the berserker body, and do something like that. And then they could go into the whole storyline of how Alita overcomes her guilt and how she overcomes her reticence, I guess, and all the bad memories that she would have from that berserker body, or all the feelings that would come back to her in the berserker body, to the point to where she could take on Zapan, in the berserker body. So I could see something like that happening, Yeah, I think Gelda is a berserker. She's, I think all of those, that squad that was going up the supply tube, I think they were all berserkers. Now, we had a discussion about this too a while back too, that probably not all the berserker bodies were the same. Some had more capabilities than others. And I think we even discussed at one point how maybe Alita was second in command behind Gelda, and probably that body she was in probably had more, capability than the other berserkers, but maybe not quite as much as Gelda had, So I think, yeah, Gelda is a berserker. There's no doubt about it. So, and there's probably a lot of that. Now, this would be another kind of a neat thing that Ash Blackwind brings up. If Nova does have Gelda somehow in stasis, and he kind of rejuvenates her or whatever he does, brings her back. He convinces her that, convinces Gelda to try to kill Alita. That would be kind of an interesting story, wouldn't it? Whereas kind of like Ash Blackman says there, the student killing the teacher, or the student even just versus the teacher. I think that would be a pretty good storyline, although it's not in the manga per se, But I think that could be another one of those what ifs, that they might pull off, like they did in the MCU. So that's possible,
Well, I got to get going. I got to go pick up my daughter, but it was great talking with you, Creek, and being part of this stream.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So, we're going to probably end the stream pretty early tonight because the Creek has got a party to go to, actually. So,
Okay.
So anyway, thanks for dropping by there. Do not stand by.
Yeah, have a great time at your party.
Okay,
Bye.
appreciate it. Okay, if anybody wants to come on and get their 2 cents into this, what we came up with Hugo coming back, by all means, there's the link. Go ahead and click on it, and just very quickly we can talk about what that would be. And then there's Lee Lemon coming on. Hello, Lee.
Howdy.
And Lee, once again, I apologize. I still haven't read any of your fanfic.
I'm not too terribly broke up over it.
Well, I've been,
you're busy.
Yeah, I am pretty busy, so, but anyway, I promise I'm going to get to it. So anyway, but you hear that every week. So you say, what the hell?
Yeah.
Any thoughts about Hugo coming back, Lee? Anything that
I think you pretty much covered him. I mean, there's the possibility that Nova rebuilds him in some way, or maybe his remains get found by Ito in good enough condition that maybe he does it. I think more likely, if he does, it'd be flashbacks, because like you were saying before, they've got all those deleted scenes, and they could use any of them or even all of them to create, various flashbacks from her time with him.
Yeah, particularly that where he is training her to play motorball. There's that one. I think Raul Gola had did a really nice video. And one of the deleted scenes he had in there is I guess Alita, or in this case Rosa. She's in her mocap suit. She's kind of gut straddling Kian Johnson, like with her fist up, just kind of like in the novelization.
I think I saw that, yeah.
And hey, he says, did that bring anything back? That was right out of the novelization. So
yeah,
they could do that, something like that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I can't really think of any other way that would really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
but who knows? They might surprise us.
Yeah, they might. I think. Well, once again, like I said before, if Alita is in it, the Creek's going to watch it.
Yep.
That's for sure. Particularly if Rosa's in. Rosa's Alita, which is what we really want. I'm definitely going to watch. I'm going to watch the series. I'm going to watch the sequel or the trilogy or beyond. So. But like we were talking about, they could do a lot with this whole kind of like a little bit of an offshoot, kind of like they did with that MCU series, What If, where...
Oh, the Disney Plus series with
the
alternate,
that's right.
Universes and stuff.
Yeah, well, as an example, there was one story where Captain America, doesn't take the super soldier serum, but his girlfriend there...
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter takes it, and she becomes, kind of the, she becomes not Captain America. I think she's
like Captain Britain. I think so.
Britain,
kind of
something like that. And she was actually in the, I guess the Doctor Strange that
I remember that
the multiverse thing. So
they were traveling to a different dimension. She was part of a super group. I think their version of the Avengers.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They could do stuff like that with Alita that all of us would enjoy, and we could get past this whole thing of, well, that's not canon,
Well, just a chance to try out different ideas and see how they look.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and they could bring Hugo back. What if Hugo survived? You know, they could do something like that, you know, in a what if series. And, you know, they could kind of go 2 or 3 ways with it, kind of like what we've talked about here, you know. They could do a lot with what ifs, you know, and that would, I know that would tide a bunch of us over. That's for sure. I know I'd love to see something like that.
No, I certainly wouldn't complain.
Yeah, by the way, did you see that tweet that I did where I actually tweeted that deep fake of, I don't know if you remember the scene, but it was from the first Avengers movie where Black Widow is interrogating Loki when he's in that cage that they built for the Hulk, you know, and up in that flying aircraft carrier.
Yeah, the
And
helicarrier.
yeah, the helicarrier, yeah. And what they did is they deep faked Alita's face onto with eyes and everything onto Black Widow's face. It is really it's really good, you know. There's a couple of
Yeah.
little places I could see where there was like a little bit of a hit, you know, on it, but I mean it's not that noticeable. You have to really be concentrating on it, you know. Yeah, that's right. Ash Blackwind Nova is the devil. Yes, it is. Yeah. But anyway, that was really done well. And one of the things about that is that I really liked about that is that, you know, that one of the, I guess the big debate is there, you know, among some is questioning whether they could do another Alita, whether it's a sequel or say most likely the series, when they can deep fake her face like that onto Black Widow. And there's another video some couple of years ago where they deep faked her face onto Wonder Woman, you know, and it looks pretty good. You know, I mean, that tweet that I gave out, that I did tweet, you know, I mean, it does look like Alita, you know, that is talking to Loki, you know. And they could do something like that, I think, in a series, and I think I'd be happy with it. Now, it's not as good as the mocap stuff for sure, you know, but
Well, I
hey.
think if they did something like that and maybe did, possibly CGI and do something along the lines of some of the stylized cell shading they did for some of the Love, Death, Robots episodes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Maybe something like that would probably work a little bit better. That way you don't have to worry about making it look realistic. It just has to look good.
Or they could do some rotoscope stuff on it.
I was
too,
thinking
you know?
that too, but I'm not sure if that would actually be more work.
Yeah, it might be.
Because those are like hand painted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it might be more work. But the deep fake stuff, I don't think is that. Well, I don't know that much about it, but I don't think the deep fake stuff is all that challenging for them. I mean, I think the guy that put that together certainly is not a major studio, you know, and he actually put that together, and it looks really good. It looks so good, I saved it on one of my playlists on YouTube. So,
yeah, I didn't see the tweet, unfortunately, because I don't have Twitter.
Okay. Well, I would play it, except I don't want to get yeeted. So, that's one of those kind of things. Well, I can play it without the sound, though, can't I? Let's see if I can find that.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can do that without the sound. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, tweets. There it is. Let me okay, we want to do this. Okay, let me I'm just going to play it and let me get over to the
and if the stream suddenly conks out, we'll know why.
yeah, let's see, why didn't that work? Oh, I know why it didn't work. Let me go back to it here. I'll get it. Well, it's not letting me go back to the have to let me pull up the. Now I'm kind of. No, I kind of wanted to get this. Now I'm now become determined for it, but it is kind of cool, Let me pull this up. It's on my.
It's like once you get started, you're bound.
Yeah. Now I want to get it. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, here we go. Show more right here, and then I put it there. I think. Down the bottom. There it is. Okay. No, that's not it.
Three hundred years later.
Yeah, no, I got it now. I think I got it. Let's see. There's.
Yeah, Ash was saying that.
100 years later. Well, what's 100 years to somebody that's immortal? So yeah, there you have it. So anyway, all right, now I got it. So now what I want to do is I want to share my screen, and we'll. Now, what's wrong with my computer? Now it's kind of. Wow. Now my mouse is not working.
Yeah, no argument here for Nordley.
Yeah. That's weird.
I think
Okay,
Robert Rodriguez would also agree with you too.
Yes. Okay, here it goes. Now we got it. And so can you guys see that okay? See Loki? Yeah. Can you guys see it? Can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah, I got it.
It's really done well.
Yeah, I've seen some really good deep fakes, especially lately. It seems like they've gotten real good at them.
Yeah. Look at that. I mean, that is pretty good right there.
Now, if he just somehow managed to include the hair, it would be absolutely a perfect match.
Yeah. Of course, he was just trying to get the face on that one, but yeah, you're right. So anyway, it's kind of wild seeing. I mean, I liked it so much, I saved it. So anyway, I think I'll stop sharing now. But we could sit here and watch the whole thing if you want. But I really like how he did. I mean, that looks like Loki is talking to Alita.
A red-haired Alita.
Yeah,
with a fully organic body.
Yeah, that's right. So,
see, I was just thinking if he added the mechanical bits from her from the base of her throat down, and then put the black hair on there.
Yeah,
so I think Black Widow. I don't think she's wearing gloves actually, so you'd probably have to put the overlay on her hands too.
Yeah,
she's got fingerless gloves.
Yeah, that's right. So you can see her fingers. So you'd have to.
Well, the fingerless gloves would make it a little bit easier because you got a lot less of the hand to worry about.
Yeah, that's right.
And that would be like a perfect match for Alita.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, God, I mean, I really look at that. I mean, holy crap, that looks like Alita to me, So anyway, I guess we can stop that one, I guess. But
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's if they did something like that on the series, then that that would be pretty cool. I think. Would it work on the movie? I don't know. I think you'd have to really put some extra effort into it because that's, of course, the deep fake stuff is not. It's not quite as good as mocap, But if you really looked at that particular video and you could see a couple of places where it's like a little video hit, it's not bad at all, though. You can't notice it, I mean, it's really, really good.
Well, considering what a perfectionist Cameron is, he would probably still want to go with Weta because if there's even just the smallest imperfection, that could mess up the illusion. He's not going to go for it.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I think it would work better as a series, because I think he's more into the theatrical
movies
part
and
of
stuff,
this. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, yeah, that's right. It is freaking uncanny. That's for sure, Norley. Or for sure, it's definitely that. So, what is this? What did David Alexandra say here? Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, actually, I do appreciate that. But let's all definitely want to support the Alita Army for sure, and get that sequel for our cyborg girl. That's for sure. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for me, because like I say, I got to get moving here pretty soon. So anyway, any thoughts there that we might have left out there, Lee, that you might have maybe thought about when you were in the chat and that kind of stuff?
Not really. I mean, this isn't really even a subject I had even given that much thought, honestly, until you brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Angelus he seemed excited for this particular topic, and then he didn't make it. That I think it's because he's working, so, and which is
More
okay.
likely, yeah.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah. So, okay, so anyway, that's it, I guess, for the stream, I guess. So I guess we didn't miss anything. We kind of went over 3 or 4 different scenarios for Alita if Hugo survived.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see there, Alita loves her Uncle Creek. And certainly I'm not going to get in her face about anything either, because she could take out Uncle Creek. So anyway, yeah, I agree with you, Ash Blackwin. Rest in peace, Hugo. So for sure, unless you want to bring him back as a sequel, I guess you could bring him back as a ghost, but that would violate all of the whole story, I think.
Well, unless Nova had a good reason for reconstructing him the way the Nova in the manga did to Alita's brain.
Yeah.
I can't really see that really happening.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there was some plan he had to use Hugo to really screw with Alita.
Yeah. Which is what
That'd
he
be
would.
The only thing I could think of, yeah.
Well, he'd want to do that, wouldn't he? Because
he might have what he would consider better ideas for that, but it seems like it would be a remote possibility at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Oof, bring him back as a deckman.
Oh Lord, yeah. Bringing Hugo back as a deckman. Oh my God.
I don't hate him that much.
Yeah, I don't either. And how would Alita react if she found out Hugo was a deckman?
Probably not real well.
No. As a matter of fact, that would get her ire up to the point where she might want to destroy Solemn for sure. Yeah.
Probably starting with the factory.
Yeah, that's right. So. Okay, so anyway, here's our queen, of course, Rosa. #1 in Creek's book as an actor. She sure deserves, a lot of accolades and things like that. Because she's, she is Alita. That's for sure.
Well, it's who is it? John Landau. I think he was the one saying it's like we weren't just waiting for the technology to catch up. We were waiting for Rosa.
Yeah. Which is wild, because she is Alita. Man, she's a great actor, man. I don't think she gets enough credit, so. Okay, so anyway, I guess tomorrow on Radio Chaos, and that's kind of dovetails real nice, or this stream dovetails real nice with Hugo, the Hugo effect. How would Alita have turned out without Hugo in it? That's
an interesting question.
Yeah, how would that have worked? Certainly if there was no Hugo in there wasn't going to be any love affair of any kind, and of course she wouldn't have lost Hugo. So
there's a possibility she may have ended up developing feelings for someone else, another type of person that might have affected her differently.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow. And the Creek is going to be the stream manager. So, I'm looking forward to that one too, So,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess could Nova. I guess he meant easily build, I think is what he meant.
No, bribing him, basically giving him some sort of taste of the
Oh,
good
yeah,
life
yeah.
in Zalem, basically, and then sort of using that to kind of get him to go along with whatever plans he's got against Alita.
Yeah, that's right.
It probably require a little bit, considering how he was willing to give up Zalem for her, it might require a little bit more manipulation, but that could definitely, I think, be a good component in it.
Yeah, I think so, I don't know about Manga's a pan worth 50K.
That's a chunk of change.
Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, Nordley, you're welcome for for that. I know it's a kind of a short stream, but we definitely want to get this topic in there and kind of let it kind of merge into the Radio Chaos topic tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. And last but not least, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because the Creek likes it and he's running the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And to paraphrase Gruishka, I am only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And we're all only here for our girl.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I guess last things last, I guess, call to action on this. Lee, it's only you and me, so let's get it right. On my count of three. 1, 2, 3. Film
those sequels, baby.
baby. All right, so we'll see you next week on the Alita live stream. We'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.
Have fun at your party.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita live stream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.